Just revealed is not a comet, and it never was. Before we begin, I need you to do something critical. Comment your city name below and tell me, have you noticed anything unusual in the night sky recently? Flickering stars, objects that seem to pause mid-trajectory. NASA is quietly compiling reports, and your observation may be more important than you realize. What I'm about to share may change the way you see humanity's place in the universe. I'm sitting in my office right now, surrounded by equations that suddenly feel obsolete. The data came through 3 days ago, transmitted through channels most scientists don't even know exist. When I first saw the file marked 3 Atlas Urgent Classification Review, I assumed it was another routine analysis of an interstellar object. We've tracked 2 before, 1I in 2017, then 2I Boris in 2019. Both were strange, yes, but explainable within the boundaries of known astrophysics. 3 Atlas was supposed to be the third. But the numbers I'm looking at now don't describe a comet. They describe something that has been watching us. And the observation phase, my friends, just ended. Let me take you back to when we first detected it. It was January of last year when the Atlas Survey Telescope in Hawaii picked up an unusual infrared signature moving through the Oort cloud. At first, the trajectory seemed natural, a long-period object, probably ejected from another stellar system millions of years ago. We labeled it, logged it, and prepared the standard observation protocol. Then it decelerated, not dramatically, not in a way that would trigger immediate alarms, but enough that when I ran the orbital mechanics myself, I had to check my calculations 3 times. Comets don't slow down in deep space unless they encounter significant gravitational interference. There was nothing out there. No planetary body, no dense gas cloud, just the void. And yet 3I Atlas slowed by 0.003% over a 6-week period. I know what you're thinking. 0.003% is negligible, a rounding error. But in the language of celestial mechanics, that's a whisper that shouldn't exist. It's like hearing a footstep in a room you know is empty. The scientific community did what it always does. It rationalized. Outgassing, they said, sublimating, ice-creating, asymmetric thrust. I wanted to believe that. I helped write some of those papers. But when we analyzed the spectroscopic data, there was no coma, no tail, no evidence of volatile compounds venting into space. 3. I Atlas was solid, dense, and it was maneuvering. That's when the call came from a colleague at the Deep Space Network in CRA. She's someone I've trusted for 30 years, someone who doesn't speculate, doesn't exaggerate. Her voice was shaking when she told me they detected a signal not from 3I Atlas, from something near it. The signal was in the X-band frequency, pulsed, structured. It lasted 47 seconds. Then it stopped. Then exactly 12 hours later it repeated, this time stronger, as if the source had moved closer to Earth. They triangulated it using dishes in Australia, California, and Spain. The origin point was less than 800 kilometers from 3I Atlas. That's when I realized we weren't tracking a comet. We were watching a probe, and something else was watching the probe. I need you to understand the implications of what I just said. For decades, we've assumed that if extraterrestrial intelligence exists, first contact would come through deliberate communication, a message beamed toward Earth, a response to one of our own signals, perhaps even physical visitation. But what if observation came first? What if for centuries we've been studied from a distance by instruments we could never detect, waiting for us to reach a certain threshold of technological capability? 3 Atlas may be that threshold. The signal itself was extraordinary. When we ran it through pattern recognition algorithms, it showed embedded mathematical constants, pi, the fine structure constant, ratios that appear in quantum mechanics. This wasn't noise. This wasn't random. Someone or something was communicating in the language of universal physics. But here's what terrifies me. The signal wasn't directed at Earth. It was directed at 3 Atlas. It was a command. 3 days after we detected that transmission, 3I Atlas changed course, not subtly this time. It executed a 22-degree inclination shift that would require thrust equivalent to a sustained ion drive operating at maximum capacity. We're talking about an object roughly 400 millimeters in diameter, altering its velocity vector in a way that violates every natural explanation we have. NASA convened an emergency panel. I was on that call. 18 of the world's leading astrophysicists, astrobiologists, and aerospace engineers, all bound by non-disclosure agreements before we were even allowed to speak. The footage they showed us was classified, pulled from the James Webb Space Telescope's infrared array. 3I Atlas wasn't just moving, it was rotating, systematically scanning, and it was heading toward Earth, not on a collision course. Let me be clear about that. Its trajectory would take it within lunar orbit, a close pass by cosmic standards, but not an impact scenario. What unsettled everyone in that room wasn't the approach itself, it was the precision. 3I Atlas adjusted its path with the accuracy of a spacecraft executing a rendezvous maneuver. Someone wanted it here, and someone wanted us to know. I've spent my entire career studying the universe through the lens of theoretical physics, string theory, multiverse cosmology, the mathematics of dimensions beyond our perception. I've always believed that intelligence, if it exists elsewhere, would be vastly different from us. Perhaps so different that communication would be impossible. We might not even recognize it as intelligence. But what if I was wrong? What if intelligence, regardless of origin, converges on certain universal truths, mathematics, physics, the structure of space-time itself? What if the universe is filled with civilizations that communicate not through language, but through the manipulation of fundamental forces? 3. Atlas might be a Rosetta Stone written in gravity and light. The more I studied the data, the more I began to see patterns within patterns. The object's rotation rate synced with the orbital period of Earth. Its surface temperature fluctuated in a rhythm that matched the cosmic microwave background's anisotropies. These weren't coincidences. They were designed correlations intended to be noticed by a species capable of measuring them. We were being tested. Then 2 weeks ago, something changed. The signal from the unknown source near 3I Atlas stopped completely. The Deep Space Network scanned every frequency band from radio to gamma. Nothing. It was as if someone had flipped a switch and gone silent. That's when 3 Atlas activated. I don't have another word for it. The object, which had been inert apart from its trajectory correction, suddenly began emitting electromagnetic radiation across multiple wavelengths. Infrared, visible light, ultraviolet. The pattern was clear as it was a broadcast and it was directed at Earth. The first message was simple, a sequence of prime numbers ascending from 2 to 997. A universal identifier, proof of intentional intelligence. Any civilization capable of mathematics would recognize this. We did. Then came the second message. It was a star map, not just any star map. It showed our galaxy from an external perspective, as if viewed from outside the Milky Way's spiral arms. Specific stars were highlighted, our sun among them, but also 14 others scattered across thousands of light years. At first, we thought it might be indicating locations of other intelligent species, but when we cross-referenced those stars with exoplanet surveys, we found something else. Every single one had planets in the habitable zone, and every single one had shown transient radio emissions in the past century, signals we detected and dismissed as natural phenomena. They weren't natural, they were beacons, and we were on the map. I sat in my office that night staring at that star map until dawn broke over the city. 15 worlds, 15 civilizations perhaps, all at roughly the same level of technological development, all emerging into the galactic community at the same time. The statistical improbability of that is staggering unless it wasn't random, unless something or someone had been cultivating us. That's when the third message came through. This one wasn't mathematical. It wasn't a map. It was biological data, genomic sequences, protein structures, neurological architectures, and they matched human DNA, not perfectly. There were deviations, modifications, segments that don't exist in any terrestrial organism, but the core blueprint was unmistakable. Whoever sent 3 Atlas knows what we are. They know how we're built. And the modifications in that genetic data suggest they know what we could become. I've spent the last week consulting with biologists, geneticists, evolutionary scientists. The consensus is as terrifying as it is awe-inspiring. The sequences we received represent an optimized version of human evolution. Enhanced neuroplasticity, extended cellular regeneration, increased cognitive processing capacity. It's a blueprint for a post-biological humanity, an upgrade. But here's the question that keeps me awake at night. Is this a gift or a requirement? Think about what observation means. When a scientist observes an experiment, they're not passively watching. They're waiting to see if the variables behave as predicted, and if they don't, the experiment ends. It gets recalibrated. Sometimes it gets discarded. What if Earth has been an experiment? What if humanity and those 14 other civilizations on that star map are test subjects in a galactic study of consciousness, intelligence, and technological evolution? We've reached a critical phase. We've split the atom, decoded our genome, built artificial intelligence, sent probes beyond our solar system. We're on the verge of becoming an interstellar species, and now the observation is over. 3. I-Atlas is the final exam. I know how that sounds. I know it veers into territory that scientists are trained to avoid: speculation, philosophy, existential dread. But I'm looking at data that cannot be explained by natural processes. I'm looking at evidence of deliberate, intelligent intervention in human development, and I'm forced to confront a possibility I never thought I'd seriously consider. We are not alone. We have never been alone. And whatever has been watching us just made its presence known. The signal traffic has increased exponentially in the past 72 hours. 3D Atlas is now transmitting continuously, and we're picking up response signals from multiple sources across the solar system. Something is coordinating. Something is communicating, and Earth is at the center of it. Governments know. I can't tell you which ones or what they're planning, but emergency protocols have been activated not for invasion. There's no indication of hostile intent, but for contact, for the moment when we have to stand before our cosmic neighbors and prove that we deserve to join them. That's what this is about. Worthiness, readiness. The galactic community, if it exists, has standards, thresholds that species must cross before they're acknowledged. We've been isolated, quarantined perhaps, until we demonstrated sufficient maturity, sufficient wisdom. Have we? Look at our world right now. We're burning through our planet's resources, poisoning our oceans, waging wars over invisible lines on maps. We've built weapons capable of extinguishing all life on Earth, and we've come terrifyingly close to using them. We've created artificial intelligences that may soon surpass our own cognition, and we haven't agreed on how to control them. Are we ready for this? Are we ready to be part of something unimaginably larger than ourselves? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But 3, I-Atlas doesn't care whether we feel ready. It's here. And in approximately 6 weeks, it will reach perigee, its closest approach to Earth. NASA has calculated the exact moment, March 14th, 21:19 a.m., Universal Time, Pi Day 219, the mathematical constant and a prime number. Even the timing is a message. What happens then is unknown. Will it simply pass by? Its mission complete? Will it deploy something, instruments, probes, perhaps even a physical presence? Or will it do nothing, waiting to see how we react, measuring our response as the final data point in centuries of observation? I've been asked what I would say if given the chance to communicate with whatever intelligence controls 3 Atlas. I've thought about that question more than any other in my entire career, and my answer isn't scientific. It's not a formula or a proof. It's a plea. We're young, we're flawed, we make terrible mistakes, and maybe the universe doesn't demand perfection. Maybe it only demands persistence, curiosity, and the courage to keep asking questions even when the answers terrify us. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe 3. I-Atlas is something else entirely. Not a test, not a greeting, but a warning, a cosmic marker indicating that we've gone as far as we're allowed, that the sandbox has limits, and we've just reached them. The data continues to come in. Every day brings new revelations, new questions. My colleagues and I are working around the clock trying to decode every transmission, every pattern, every encrypted layer of information embedded in 3 Atlas's broadcasts. We're collaborating with linguists, anthropologists, philosophers, theologians, anyone who might offer insight into what this means for humanity's future. Because this isn't just physics anymore. This isn't just astronomy or astrophysics or any other scientific discipline. This is existential. This is about who we are, where we came from, and where we're going. I think about the civilizations that came before us, the ones that didn't make it, the ones that destroyed themselves before they could reach the stars. Are there worlds still out there? Silent monuments to failure, dead planets orbiting in different suns, their ruins never to be discovered because they never passed the test. Or maybe they did pass. Maybe they transcended, evolved beyond physical form, joined the cosmic community, and left their homeworlds behind. Maybe that's what awaits us. Not destruction, but transformation. The genetic blueprint we receive suggests that possibility. Those modifications, those enhancements to human DNA, they're not random, they're purposeful. They represent a path forward, an evolutionary trajectory that could take us beyond our biological limitations. But evolution requires selection, it requires pressure, and sometimes it requires extinction. I've calculated the odds, I've run the simulations. Based on historical patterns of technological development and societal collapse, civilizations like ours have approximately a 200-year window. We're at year 150. We're in the danger zone, the period where we're advanced enough to destroy ourselves, but not yet wise enough to prevent it. 3 Atlas arrived now for a reason. Arrived now for in 6 weeks everything changes. We'll either take the next step in our cosmic evolution or we'll remain isolated, confined to this pale blue dot until we solve our problems or succumb to them. The choice, I believe, is still ours, but the window is closing. I want you to understand something. I've dedicated my life to science, to rational thought, to evidence and experimentation. I don't believe in destiny or fate or divine intervention, but what I'm seeing in this data challenges everything I thought I knew about our place in the universe. We are not the center of creation. We are not special, but we are noticed, and that might be the most profound revelation in human history. So I ask you, comment below, share your thoughts, your fears, your hopes. Tell me what you see when you look up at the night sky now, because soon, very soon, that sky will look back. Follow this channel as we continue decoding the universe's final warnings, as we track 3i Atlas's approach, and as we prepare for whatever comes next. This story isn't over. In many ways, it's just beginning. And here's what keeps me awake, staring at equations that suddenly seem like prayers. What if observation isn't really over? What if it never ends? What if 3i Atlas is just the beginning of a new phase? One where we transition from subjects to participants, from experiments to colleagues in some vast cosmic endeavor we can barely comprehend? Or what if we fail? What if, on March 14th, when 3i Atlas reaches its closest point to Earth, we're found wanting? What happens to species that don't pass the test? I don't have those answers yet. No one does. But I promise you this, I'll keep searching. I'll keep calculating. I'll keep questioning, because that's what we do. That's what makes us human. We reach for answers even when the questions terrify us. The universe is speaking. 3i Atlas is its voice, and humanity's response will echo across the stars for eons to come. So tell me, are you ready to